Hi, Tzvi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How's Temi?
Making good progress.
Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Very good.
We'll get there.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Where are we up to? Which parsha? Which parak?
Perek
Chaf?
Chaf Aleph. When the last one next to last perek in the
Chaf Aleph? Chaf
yeah.
Aleph?
Chaf Aleph.
Thank you. We're almost finished with Melachim Aleph. Wow.
Trying to order the Melachim Beis, huh?
Oh, wow.
I think that's it. They're all repeating. Melachim Aleph, Melachim Bet, it's all repeating. Every king do the same as the previous.
And what's that meaning?
Nothing changed.
Nothing changes.
Until you come to the later kings, no? At the very end, right? Chizkiyahu, right? Yeshayahu.
Bernie, are there fewer people coming on Sunday evening? Is that not as preferred as Saturday night?
I don't think so. Is that your feeling?
I don't know. The classes are smaller, so I guess maybe for Chakim, I don't know. Right? Well, I'm just thinking Shabbos, I mean, okay, it's late, but but on one hand, nobody's going anywhere, right?
I hear you. But even 8 o'clock will be difficult on Shabbos night now, right? Shabbos is over.
No, 8 o'clock, it would have to be later. Of course,
Yeah.
no, it would have to be later.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, how many people are, hey, where's Ernie? It's 8:02.
I think Sunday also we'll have to make it a little later because of my leave.
Yeah, we had a minyan at David Rubin's house tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
How come?
It's your mishpacha.
No, but
Because Sunday, the Yavna, the school has closed at night. There's no entrance. So we on Sunday night we daven in somebody's private home.
Oh, wow.
Whoever's saying Kaddish.
Oh, whoever's saying Kaddish.
Yeah.
So tragic. Ay,
Okay.
it's fine, Blue. Oh. Aye. Aye.
Malachim Aleph, Parakaf Aleph, 21. We have two more prakim left.
Wow.
Two more prakim from Malachim Aleph, then with God willing, we'll start Malachim Beis.
Hmm.
We are in the final episodes of the life of Achav HaMelech. Wait, what parak? Chaf Aleph. So last week we learned about Ben Hadad Melech Aram, that Hashem saved Achav and Klal Yisrael through Nisim, and Achav though still didn't do any tshuva. After everything that's happened, Hara Carmel, the Nisim, that they were saved from Aram. So finally, there's going to be a sort of a final nail in the coffin of Achav that's going to occur in this parak. And he steals through evil means the vineyard of Navos HaYisraeli. And just for a Hagdama, because this parak is going to tell us that Achav unlawfully took the vineyard of Navos. Now, the question is, why is that viewed as a problem? Remember, Shmuel HaMelech, in Shmuel Aleph Perek Ches, told the Jewish people what's going to happen to them if they choose a king. He said, and I'm going to quote, Shmuel Aleph Perek Ches, Pasuk Yudalet, Ve'es sadosechem, ve'es karmechem, ve'zeisechem, your fields, your vineyards, your olive orchards, hatoivim, yikach v'natan lavada. He's going to take them, implying that the king has the reshus to take from the people their fields. So why is it such a terrible thing then? And we're going to see it's considered a terrible thing that Achav took this vineyard from Navos. But if it's permitted for him to do it, why is it considered such a problem? In fact, Tosfos in Sanhedrin, Daf Chaf Amud Beis, Tema, Lama Nenash Achav al Navos, Kevin Shlarotzalim Karlo Karmo. Why was Achav punished when Navos didn't want to sell him his field? Yesh Lamer Tvarshas HaMelech, Yikach v'nos lavado v'lo latzmo. So Tosfos answers, you know why it was considered a problem? Because Shmuel said that the kings would take the fields and give them to their servants, not keep it themselves.
Another explanation is that applies about the Melech being able to take anybody, any property that he wants, applies only to David HaMelech and his descendants. Right? One Melech is the Davidic line. Does not apply to Melech Yisrael.
Well, we'll see. Let's go through the various things. That may be one of them, like what Bernie is saying. First is, it may have been considered a problem for Achav because he wanted it for himself. Number two, that he's allowed to just take it without payment. But once we'll see Achav asked to purchase it, so maybe Novos had the right to refuse. Now, the pasuk is going to tell us that Achav wanted the field for Vayhili Lagan Yerek. And the Meforshim learned that what that means is he wanted to turn it into a park for Avodah Zarah. Where's the raya for that? From Sefer Yeshayahu, Daf Perek Samech Vav, Pasuk Yud Zayin, Hamiskadshim ve'amitarim elaganot, which implies people making parks and gardens for Avodah Zarah purposes. Other people say that it was permitted for the king to take fields that are far away far away from the city, not sort of within the Yishuv. And Navos's field was in the city. Other people say that a king could take a field that did not belong to the Nachla of the Shevet, what's called a Steachuza. When Yoshua conquered the land, he gave it to all the Shvatim. The Shvatim distributed it to the people. That becomes their ancestral field. The king was not allowed to take that field. And Navos, we're going to see, this declares that his field is Nachlas Avoisai. So perhaps that is why it's considered a sin for Achav.
This is a small sin relative to the thing that he was Oived Avodah Zarah.
Yes, yes, that's good. We're gonna deal with all of those questions tonight. If we get up to it. Tzvi asks, well, we'll see. We don't know yet what happens, what the sin is. It's not gonna be so pashut. What happened, how he got the field. Now, some answer, like Bernie said, it's only a king that is anointed over, not necessarily Malchus Beis David, but on Yisrael v'Yehuda, and through HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Achav didn't rule over Judea. He only ruled on the 10 Shvatim. The Radak says that when a king has a right to a field, it's only for the payros. Just like a husband, when he marries his wife and the wife brings in fields into the marriage, he's allowed to eat the payros, but it's not that he gets the gufa karka. Now, there's also machlokes in Masechta Sanhedrin there. Amir Mishmol Kola Amir B'Parshas Melech Melech Muterbo. Whatever is written there in Shmuel, the Melech is allowed to do it. Rav Amar Lo Nemra Parshazu El La'ayim Aleim. According to Rav, a Melech is not allowed to do all those things. It was said there by Shmuel to scare them so that they wouldn't ask for a king. And there is a din that the king is supposed to instill fear, because it says, Son tasim alecha melech, shetehem emaso alech. So the kasha of Tosfos is only according to the one that says a melech is permitted to do all these things. But according to Manda Omar, that says a melech is not permitted, then we know for sure why Achav did something prohibited. And we see from that Tosfos, in fact, that a king that ruled over the 10 Shvatim had a din melech. And therefore, all the various dinim that applied to a melech applied to him as well. Otherwise, Tosfos wouldn't ask the question. Tosfos asked the question, what did he do wrong? He was allowed by the things that were told to Shmuel that a melech is allowed to do. Obviously, Tosfos holds that even though they were only ruling over the 10 tribes, they had all the dinim of a melech. That's an important point to make. With that as an introduction, let's start the parak. After the episode of Ben Hadad Melech Aram, the pasuk says, "Kerem hayal Navos Israeli." Navos had a vineyard. Asher Israel. Emek Israel is right below Malad Gilboa. Kibbutz Shluchot, Kibbutz Tirat Tzvi, Beit Sha'an, it's all Emek Israel. It's a very fertile area. This was not the area where Achav had his capital city. That was in Shomron. So this is somewhere else. Eitzel Heichal Achav Melech Shom. Now, Achav had like a summer palace in Emek Israel, near this vineyard that belonged to Navos. Navos, it looks like, was one of the Gedolim and the Chashuvim in that area. Not only that,
He was also a cousin. He was a cousin of Achav. Oh, is that what you were going to say?
Chazal say in Sanhedrin Mem Ches Samud Beis, Navos haya ben achi aviv shalacha. That means Who was the father of Achav? Omri. Omri had a brother, and this Navos is the son of the brother. It's his first cousin of Achav. The Malbim points out that the request by Achav for Navos's kerem, it is not for the tzorech the melucha. It was all a private request because it was near Achav's private home. Because if it comes from the Malchus, a melech is poiretz get there. You know, in America, it's called eminent domain. I remember when they built the Santa Monica Freeway, and they, all the buildings were taken down, eminent domain. So a Jewish king has the same right. But this had nothing to do with the Melucha. If it was in Shomron, where the capital city is, yeah. So then you would make an argument, Navos would have to give up the field, because Shomron is the capital city. And it's a covet for the nation, and there's a toeles for the Malchus. But this is not a base on Malchus. This is just his private summer home, not because he's a Melech. Now, whenever it says Achar Advarim Ha'eleh, Rashi and Chumash teaches us that it has some connection to what came before. And the Meforshim explain. So what came in last week's parak? That Hashem made all these nisim to save Achav and the Jewish army from Aram. And Achav saw all of this. Yet he didn't stop sinning. Like Tzvi said, he still continued worshiping Avodah Zarah. Now, he is jealous.
To die.
He's over loy sachmoid. He wants something that doesn't belong to him. We're going to see, and in the end, Naval gets killed because of it.
The Navi told them last week, when we learned last week, the Navi already told him that he would die because of what he sinned with Ben Hadad.
The Navi, where did he sing that?
פסוק מ"ב, נו.
The life shall be instead of his life.
That was the Navi that came to give him the mashal, right?
The Micha, what was his name? What was
Right,
his name?
Michayahu.
Michayahu.
He gave Achav a mashal,
Mhm.
and basically the Navi explained that mashal because because Achav Paskin, when he asked him the question, what should happen to the guy that he had a prisoner and he let the prisoner go? So he gave him an answer that he should be killed. But Achav hasn't been given a nevuah yet that he himself is going to be killed. He was told that mashal, but he hasn't been given a psak din yet from the Navi. So what else is the Achar Advarim Ha'eleh? Because remember, Achav had Rachmanis on Ben Hadad. In the end, Ben Hadad is going to come back and create a lot of problems for Klal Yisrael. But he let him free. He wanted to show that he's a big Baal Chesed and a Rachman. Yet look at how he treated a fellow Jew, Navos, someone who was his first cousin, who killed him because of a field. And so we'll see that it's going to be a similar punishment that Shaul HaMelech got because he was Merachim on Agag against what was told to Hashem through Shmuel told him what to do. And then eventually also killed the Kohanei Nov. There's a Gemara, there's a Medrash in Parshas Vayigash when Yosef reveals himself to his brothers. Amar Arba Koin Bardla, Oilanu Yom Adin, Oilanu Yom HaToichacha. Woe is to us when we have to face judgment in front of Hashem after 120 years. Yosef Kotnan Shel Shvati. Yosef was the youngest of the Shvat. Yet lo yochlu echav lanato tokini valumi panav. They were speechless when Yosef revealed himself. Kishiyava Kadosh Baruch Hu v'yochiach l'kol echad l'fi mashu hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give us the same toichach alachas kama v'kama, how we are going to be silent. Because the Beis HaLevi there says, Danim kol adam l'fi ma'aseh atzmo. The person is judged based on his own actions. And what he actually did, lo mima shehaya yachol liot, not just based on his potential. So even though, like Tzvi said, Achav did a lot of sins, but we're going to see he was punished severely that he allowed Ben Hadad to go free, and he didn't have mercy on Navos, and he didn't have mercy on the Ish Elokim that we're going to describe later on. So the roosters are going to come home to roost to Achav in this parak. Pasuk base. Vaydaber Achav el Navos lemo. So Achav wants Navos's keren. So he speaks to him. Kanalias karmacha. I want your vineyard. Vayhili leganyerek. I want to use it as a park. Kihu karov eitzel basi. It's close to my home. Ve'nalcha tachtav kerem tov mimenu. I will replace it for you with a better vineyard. Im tov beinecha et nalacha kesef mechir zeh. Or, if you prefer cash, we'll give you cash. Again, we see the Ganyerek. It's not a Dvar Malucha, it's not a Malchus thing, it's a private thing. Vayormen Navos Elacha. Chalila li me'ashem mititi et nachalat avotai lecha. That Chalila, in front of Hashem, I will not give my ancestral land to you. Some of the Meforshim want to say that Navos was telling him that if I had bought the field, I would have sold it to you, or I would have given it to you. But it's a steachuza. It's an ancestral field. I have children. They're going to inherit it, and therefore I can't give it to you. Now,
But it's going to get back to him on Yovel.
if Achav is going to follow that din, yes. Yes, if Achav is going to follow that din. But there's other reasons, Tzvi, why Navos didn't want to sell it to him. He gave him Musar. This Chalila li me'ashem. Ratzah lo'chiach bazet Achav shazab nachlat avotav. This is a message. Just like this is my ancestral field, you, Achav, have abandoned your Nachla, meaning Hashem Elokim. That's a much more important Nachla than a piece of land. A piece of land is temporary life, but Emunah and Torah is Nachlas HaNefesh. And you left it without money and without anything. So he gave him Tochacha.
Wasn't that rebuke even greater? I think that incensed Achav even more, and it troubled him. The rebuke was even worse than the actual refusal to sell him the vineyard.
Absolutely. And we'll see proof for that soon. Absolutely. Gave him very strong tochacha here. He also noted from the phrase, the Ganyerek, that Achav planned to turn this garden into a statuary for the Baal. So Chalila from Hashem that we're going to do this. That my Nachlav Savoisa should turn into a place to worship Baal Vasherah.
But he said Gan Yarak. How he said it Asherah? He asked him to give it to him for Gan Yarak. What Gan Yarak is Asherah? I mean,
Asherah and Baal. That's how Chazal learned.
yeah, okay.
By the way, there's an interesting Chazal that I want to learn with everybody. It's a Medrash Tanchuma in Yeshayahu that B'shah she'ata ro'eh hasha chatzufa lo ta'amod kenegda elatein lamak. Chazal tell us, Misha omed keneged hasha noifel biyado. V'chol Misha notein makom l'sha hasha noifel biyado. Everything has its time. If you see that somebody is very successful and that and the time is with him, you go along with him. Like Chazal,
What do you mean by that? What do you mean?
Chazal say, Navos amad keneged hasha v'nafel biyado. Shenemar, T'nal lias karmacha vili legan yarak. And he answers, Chalilali, Chazal have a problem that he didn't do it. Manasalo nafal biyad hasha. In the end, we're going to see Navos is killed. Avraham nasan mokom l'sha. Ubarach mibnei Nimrod melech Kazdim. Nimrod was the king there. It was very strong. And Avram saw that it's not the time for me to stand up against him. He ran away. Later on, remember Kedar LaOmer, the battle of the kings, he kills Nimrod. Gam Yitzchak v'gam Yaakov nasnu makom l'shav yitzlichu. So we explain like this: Av shemin adin lo haya mechuyav navot limkor et karmo la'acha mikol makom omrim lanu Chazal de'ein kedai l'lchom keneged hasha hainu keneged b'shoim b'shah shem oimdim b'gvura. Sometimes you see a Russia and things are going well for him. You know what? Don't shake the tree. You have to go with the flow. So the Yalkut Shimoni then also says why, in the end, Navos is punished. Why is he punished if he's such a tzaddik? So Mishle says, Kabed es Hashem mehoncha, means honor Hashem with your wealth. However, the Yalkut Shimoni darshans b'mashachan necha. Everybody has a gift that a Kodesh Baruch Hu gives them. Shemaya kolcha noah avor lifnei hateva. Hashem gave you a good voice. Be the chazan.
Exactly.
Chia ben achoisoi. Chia was the ben achoisoi from Lazar Kafa. Haya kol noah. Vaya omer lo chia b'ni amod uvarchas Hashem imasha chanecha. Go and be the chazan. Navos also haya kol noah. Navos had a beautiful voice. Vaya oil Yerushalayim. You call Yisrael miskanfil lishmos kolo. Navos was a famous chazan. He was Moshe Kuzovitsky of his time. And when he go up Aliyah L'Regel, everybody would listen for him. Hamachas lo Allah. They eat all of bnei blial v'avav b'nei olam. We're going to see soon that witnesses, false witnesses came, and that ended up Navos. That one time he missed. Migaram lo yedei shalo Allah Yerushalayim b're'ilach abedis hakadosh baruch hu b'mashachananu. What led to Navos' problem? He was not kabed as Hashem from Honchad with his beautiful voice. And the way the EIAM is explaining, Navos realized that Achav wants his vineyard. And that explains why that year he didn't make Aliyah to Yerushalayim. Maybe he was guarding the vineyard. He didn't have to be talking to Hashem that it would be watched or whatever. And maybe that's why he was punished. That's How some of Forshim learn that Yalkut.
Ernie, you'll relate to this. The Mayam Lois quotes from a pasuk in Kisisa, which you learned on Shabbos, I assume, that says, "V'lo yachmod ish es artzecha ba'los v'leiros es b'nei Hashem alakecha shalosh pamim v'ashana." That a person cannot covet his neighbor's inheritance of land as long as he goes to Ola Regel for the Shlosh Regalim.
Right, there's a promise. There's a promise that if you go up Oila Regelzine, you're not going to lose your field. And Navos didn't have that bitachon in Hashem. Exactly what Bernie's bringing. So Dalit. Vayavo Achav el beito sar v'za'ef. Achav is very upset. He's depressed. On what? Ala dover asher diber ela, like Barbara said. He didn't like the toichach. Novos Israeli. Vayomer lo eitin l'chas nachlas avoysoy. And on his refusal to give him the field. Vayishkavel mitaso. V'yaseit e panav v'lo achal lechem. He took a nap, turned his face to the wall, and refused to eat. Because of cows.
That sounds like he was depressed.
That's what he said. He was tantruming.
And the Malbim says exactly like Barbara. Lo nispoil ala shelo rotza laseis lo hakerem, rak al advarim shediber lo, that al azvo nachlas avoysav elokei Yisrael. And remember, we're going to learn tonight if we get there. I don't know how far we'll go, but we're going to talk at length about this duality that we've seen in Achav. On one hand, he's a Rasha, like Tzvi pointed out. On the other hand, he acts in a good way. It looks here, we're going to see, that he has regret. If you're a Rasha, complete, and the guy gives him Tochacha, he should have blown it off, but he didn't blow it off. It bothered him. So who gets involved? Of course, his wife. But the voilav Izebel Ishto, the wicked Jezebel. Vatidaber lav mazer rucha chasara. What is this depressed spirit? Ve'encha oichel lechem. Vaidaber eleh. So Achav told her, Ki adaber navos Yisraeli. I spoke to Navos for Omer lo tznalias karmecha b'chesef. Sell me your field. Oh, im chafetza tatn l'cha kerem takt. I'll give you another vineyard. Vayomer lo eitin l'chas karmi. You notice, he does not relate to her the tochacha that was given to him. Either because he's embarrassed, right? Because he knows that Izebel, he doesn't want to show Izebel that he still has concern about tochacha, about Hashem.
She would just taunt him even more about that.
Right. That, you notice he doesn't mention that.
Ernie, it's curious. Why does he reverse the order when he tells Izebel about his offer? He says, first, I'll give you silver, and if you don't want that, I'll give you a better field. Whereas in the first pasuk, it has the opposite. What is it that's appealing?
It's a very good
question.
It's a very good deal,
question.
but I didn't see anybody comment on it. It's a good diuk. In fact, it's very repetitive. We're going to see this whole thing is somewhat repetitive.
Money is more important, maybe.
So, what does Izebel advise? But Torah lav Izebel ishto. Ata tasem lucha Yisrael. You know what? You are the king. Kum echol lechem v'yitav libecha. Eat. Ani eiten lechad kerem navot Yisraeli. I will arrange that Navos's vineyard will end up in your hands. Up until now, Izebel has been shown what? To be a worshiper of Avodah. Now, with what she's going to do with Navos, that her evil extends also to Bein Adam L'Chaver. Jezebel was concerned about the Emas HaMalchus, that by the way Navos responded to him, it's not appropriate for the Melech. You have to show again to your citizens that you have Ema over them. Vatichtov Sfarim b'Shem Achav. So Izebel writes documents in the name of Achav. Vatachtom b'chotamo. Izebel had been given by Achav his signet ring by which you sign documents. Vatishlach Sfarim el Azkenim v'lachorim asher be'iro. Izebel sent these documents to the city Hayoshvim et Navot in Israel, where Navos lives. These are the officers and the police, the people who carry out the laws where Navos lives. And Izebel had trust in them that they will go along with what Achav is telling them to do. It's been signed by Achav. If the people would find out what she's planning, they wouldn't go along with it. So she's planning sort of a conspiracy. Vatichtov basform lemor. What did she write in this form? Kirut som. Establish a fast. What did they do at a fast? Sometimes they want to check who has Averis among them. Voshivus novos parosha am. And Navos is going to be accused. Two witnesses will come forth and give testimony against him. The Yehudiyu lemor, beirach Elohim b'melech. Navos cursed Hashem and the king. There is a din. If you curse Hashem or you curse the king, you're put to death. V'otziu v'siklu v'yamos. And you should take him and then put him to death through skila. They're called Bnei Blial, like wild people, because kosher Eidim are not going to swear falsely, are not going to testify falsely. There was some truth to what Izebel said, because Navos did speak chutzpahdik to Acha, but didn't curse him. He didn't. And he gave him musar that he left Hashem. But there was enough to convince that he should be taken out and killed. Now the Radak right here asks a question. These officers know that it's all sheker, and they're doing it to agree with Izebel. What are you going through the whole thing with Eidus? Just kill him. If Izebel commanded them to kill him, kill him. Because they were concerned about the people. Now, Tzvi is going to ask, they're all worshiping Avodah Zarah. Yeah. But they want to see normal din. They're not going to accept a king that rules in a despotic fashion and just to kill people for no reason. So they wanted to go through a process that looked a little bit like din. So the officers followed Asher Yishvim Be'iro Kasher Shalcha Lehem Izebel Kasher Katuv Basrim Asher Shalcha Lehem. They followed everything that she told them to do. The Malbim as a whole derech, which is basically as we've been saying all along.
Ernie, can I just ask you? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to ask you about the fast. Was that a requirement for them to investigate all the activities? Why was the fast necessary?
Because when they did a fast, it was to find out what Averas they have.
Right. So how did the fast facilitate that?
So the fast was, and that's how they discovered Novos. So it's all this sort of machination and a game to show that
Mhm.
they've identified Novos in a normal way, through the normal way they did it, through Kirut Som.
What is the meaning בראש העם?
He was an important person, I think. Wasn't he an important?
Why it's important to put it in the ראש העם?
I would think, can I say, Svi? I would say that, since he was an important VIP, she really had to be very careful in her plot to make sure that that the rest of the people would, accede to the verdict. That he, Rosh Hashanah, wasn't he a very important, wasn't he a VIP?
Novos was placed sort of at the head of this investigative body. That's what it means, Rosh Hashanah. What? Did they say anything else? He was an Adam Nichbad. But it was to show a lesson that even an important person, if he goes against the king, is going to be brought down. So Yud Gimel v'Avoshne Hashim b'nei Blial. So two evil people came by Shvu Nechdo, and they went against him. V'Ya'idu Anshe Blial Navot. They accused him of cursing the king and Hashem. Negedam lemor beirach Navot Elohim v'Melech. Navot cursed Hashem and the king. And now Achav has his field because they murdered Novos for no reason.
Ernie, can I comment what the Me'am Loeh says about not only cursing Achav, but cursing Hashem as well?
Hashem.
It's an interesting commentary that the Izeva was very clever. She said not only did she want to see Novos killed, but also Izeva wanted to see Achav get the land. And that he would not have gotten the land had it just been because he cursed God, but because just because he cursed the king. But when he cursed God, he gave up for his the Yorshim, the children of Novos,
Right.
their right to continue owning the Achuzah for that land by cursing God.
Let's learn the Gemara.
Okay.
Sanhedrin Mem Ches Amud Beis. Ton Rabbanan. Haruge Malchus. Somebody who is guilty and is going to get the death penalty by Malchei Israel. Kigon Shemar Dubo, like somebody rebels against the king. Nichsein Lamelech, their assets go to the king. However, Haruge Beis Din, Nichsein Leyorshin. Somebody is found guilty of violating Shabbos. And he's put to death through Skila in Bezdin. His assets are inherited by his heirs. Rabbi Yehuda Omer af haruge malchus nichsein leyorshim. Rabbi Yehuda holds in every case the yorshim get the assets. Omer leil Rabbi Yehuda valo nemar hinei bekerem navos asher yarasham lerishto. That there was a Yerusha by Kerem Navos. Oberland ben Achi Avivaya, Rui Eliorshaya. Yeah, Achav was his first cousin. So he had it both ways. He covered both bases. He got it as the Melech, according to the Shita that says, Haruge Melech, the Melech gets it. Or if he got it as the Yerusha. Why? V'alo harbe bonim ayulo, says the Gemara. Oberlan otov et banav harag. He didn't just kill Navos, he killed all of his sons. Because it says later on Melachim Beis, Perektes, imlo est me Navos vet me banav raisi. So here they killed Navos and his children in order to make sure that the vineyard ended up in Achav's possession. Vaishlachu Elizev Lemor Sukal Navos Vayamos. Word is sent to Jezebel that Navos has been killed. Vayikish Mo Izevel Kisukal Navot Vayamot. When Izevel heard it, Vatomer Izevel Alachav Kum Reish. You can get out of your bed, get out of your depression, go and inherit Kum Reish at Kerem Navos Israeli Reish from Yerusha. Go and inherit the vineyard. Asher me'ein latet lecha bekesef. He didn't want to give it to you with money. Ki ein Navos chai ki meis. He's not alive, he's dead. And you are the closest relative. You're his first cousin, because he was informed that the sons were killed too. Now, Ted Zayin, vayikish achav ki meit Navos. Vayakam achav laredet al kerem Navos. He doesn't protest. He doesn't say this is a terrible thing. He doesn't even do avelis over his relative. Now we're seeing the rishus of Achav. So pasuk Yud Zayin. Now the other shoe falls. Vayidvar Hashem el Eliyahu atishbi lemor. Now the EAM said initially Eliyahu came from a place called Toshav. That's why he's called some places Tishbi. But here, other times he lived in Gilad. That's why he's called Eliyahu Giladi. Now he's called Eliyahu Tishbi. He went back to his original place. Some say that after the mice of Hara Carmel, he never lived in a specific area anymore. That's why it doesn't say where he's from. Now, Yudches, Kum Reid Likras Achav Melech Yisrael Shebeshamor. Hashem tells Eliyahu to confront Achav in Shama. Hinei bekerem navot asher yarat sham lirishto. And you know where he is now? He's in the field of Navos, that he's there to inherit it. Now the question is, did Achav know what Izevel was up to? I mean, from the pshat that we've learned tonight, we could learn that maybe he was in his room depressed, in Shomron. Everything was done by Izevel in Israel. It doesn't say that Izevel told him anything. So again, we ask the question, why is, we're going to see, Achav is about to be given a punishment. Why? So he gave his wife that signet ring. And therefore he gave her the power to do this kind of evil stuff. And like I said, the other pasuk, that immediately when he was told, he immediately went down and went into the field. He was happy with everything. And he didn't complain. He didn't protest. So what does Eliyahu have to tell Achav? V'dibarta elav leimo. Ko amar Hashem. Haratzachta v'gam yarashta. You murdered and then you inherit. V'dibarta elav leimo. Ko amar Hashem. Bimkom asher lakakua klavim et dam navot. In the very same place where the dogs licked the blood of Navos, yilakua klavim et amcha gamata. Your blood will be licked by the dogs in the same place. Now, in the end, we're going to see that his blood was licked in Shomron, Achav's, not in Israel. So it could be, we're going to see that was the original plan, but Achav did a form of tshuva. He was machnia lifnei Hashem. If we get up to that tonight, we'll see that. And therefore Hashem delayed his punishment and changed the punishment to make it more lenient. He didn't change everything. He's going to die, and the dogs are going to lick his blood, but not exactly the way it was told to Eliyahu. It's not going to be in Israel where Navos is, and we'll see other changes in the Onesh. Vayomer Achav el Eliyahu, Hamitzatani oivi, you my enemy, you found me again? Because remember the last time that Eliyahu met up with Achav before the Hara Carmel episode. So Achav called him, is that you, the Oicher Yisrael? Are you the one that's causing all these problems for Klal Yisrael by holding back the rain? So they still have this kind of antagonistic relationship. Vayomer Matzati, yeah, I found you. Yanit makercha lasota rabbeinu Hashem, because of all the evil you're doing in front of Hashem. Now, the punishment that's now been given to Achav, like Tzvi asked, what about all the Avodah Zarah he did? It's all coming because he shavchu dam naki. He murdered an innocent person. And I'm going to learn a Rambam with you. Hilchas Rotzeach u'Shmiras HaNefesh. He actually goes into depth into Achav HaMelech's sin. Afal pi sheyesh avonot chamurim mishvichat damim. There are more stringent sins than murder. Ein bahem hashchatas yishuvo shel olam k'shvichas damim. There's no greater sin that disrupts civilization than murder. Afil avodah zarah. Ve'ein tzarach lomar, says the Rambam, arayis or chilul Shabbos einan k'shvichas damim. He says the sins of morality or chilul Shabbos, they're not like murder. She'elu avonos hein maviros shebein adam la'kodesh baruch hu. The sins of arayis, the sins of chilul Shabbos is bein adam l'makom. Aval shvichas damim is avera shebein ben chavero. V'chol mi sheyesh biyada oven zeh harehu rasha gomor. Ve'ein kol ha-mitzvahs she'asa kol yamav shkulim keneged oven zeh. All the mitzvahs that a person did all of his life will not stand up against the sin of killing somebody. V'lo yatzilu oto min hadin. The Rambam quotes a pasuk in Mishlei, Shneimar, Adam ashuk b'dam nafesh. Says the Rambam, Seu l'mad me Achav oved avodah zarah. Look at Achav, the worshiper of avodah zarah. Sharei nemar bo, rak loya ka'achav. There was no greater sinner than Achav. Ukishenizra avonesav was chayosav melokei aruchos. When all of the various averos were added up, lo nimsa avon shachayv kloya, the thing that sealed his din is the killing of the innocent novos. Now, the Radak brings other averis that he did. He erased all of the names of Hashem of a Sefer Torah, and he put Baal in there. Breshis bara Baal. Vaidaber Habal el Moshe Lemor. Okay. But we see the chumrah of murder brought by the Rambam very clearly.
Well, that tipped the scale, right? That definitely tipped the scale.
It's almost, remember, the Rambam says, if a person does murder and he has many, many, many mitzvahs, all the mitzvahs that he does his whole life will not be weighed against that one Avera. Normally we think, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, there's a scale, we weigh, it's not so clear you have 100 Averas, 100 mitzvahs. You see certain Averas that are so chomer that they weigh against 1,000,000 mitzvahs. Listen, you have to be Hashem to figure all this out. Now, what else is being told to Achav? Hineni mevi elecha ra, uviarti acharecha. Vichrati lachav mashtin bikir. Nobody's going to be left, not even somebody who urinates against a wall. We've had this phraseology before. Va'atzur va'azuv b'Yisrael. Nobody's going to be left. Not a dog, not a zachar, not a ben das. Atzur refers to that which has been retained, the wealth. That's all going to be disappeared. And the azuv is that which is left in the fields. Everything's going to be taken away. The Radak here on the spot brings Sanhedrin Kuf Beis Omid Beis that Uminolan de Lasi L'Amad Asi. Achav doesn't have chelik in Olam Haba. How do we know? Says Chazal, V'ichrati la'achav mashtin b'kir v'atzur v'azuv b'Yisrael. Atzur b'olam hazeh v'azuv l'olam haba. He's left out of Olam Haba from this pasuk. Pasuk Chav Beis. V'nosati es peischa k'veis Yeravim ben Nevat. The same thing that Achia Shiloni had told Yeravim. What did Achia say? Lachein ani mevi ra'a el beis Yeravim. V'ichrati li Yeravim ashtin b'kir atzur v'azuv b'Yisrael. Uvi'artiach re beis Yeravim kasher v'ragalal tumo. No child is going to be left from the family of Yeravim ben Nevat. Like later on it said, Vayikim olcho hikat kol bet Yeravam, lo hishir kol neshara liyeravam adish mido. So the pasuk says, Nasati es beis chak keveis Yeravam ben Nevat. U kebeis Basha ben Achia. The same thing was said to Basha that we learn in Perek Tet Zayin. Hineni ma'avir achrei Basha v'achrei beito. V'natati et beitcha keveit Yeravam ben Nevat, hamet levasha ba'ir yachlu ha'klavim, V'ameit lo basadeh yachlu over shamayim, lo yishir lo mashtin b'kir v'go'alav re'eyu. El ha'kas asher yichasta v'tachtit Yisrael. It's happening to Achav because of the anger and that you're causing Klal Yisrael to sin. Now, even though in these other kings, Yeravam and Basha, nothing is said about their wives, here, the wife gets it. Begam li Zevel diber Hashem lemor. Haklavim yochlu et Izevel bechel Yisrael. Here, the dogs will actually eat Izevel. Hamet la'achav ba'ir yochlu haklavim. Those in Achav's family that will die in the city will be eaten by dogs. Hamet basadeh yochlu over shamayim. Those that die in the field, the birds of prey will eat them as well. She will be killed where Navos was killed. Mida keneged Mida.
I wonder why Hashem gave Yerovam ben Nevat a chance to make tshuva. He say, Ata v'amelech mi barosh, and here he didn't do the same to Achav. What's the difference between...
No. First of all, over there, mi barosh, so Yerovam said, I'm going to be barosh. So Yerovam is also like Achav, ein lo chelik, lo dam haba.
But he gave him the chance. Here, we don't see that he gave him any chance.
How many chances did he give him? What do you mean? When he saved them from Ben Hadad and Ben Aram?
Right.
Achav was given many
Opportunities, yeah.
to do tshuva. More than Yeravam. By Yeravam, we don't see that what we're going to deal with next week. I'm not going to get it. We're not going to be able to conclude but we'll deal with it when we open next week. this double face of Achav. On one hand, remember we learned Chazals that he ruled for 22 years because he gave honor to the 22 letters of the
Torah.
want to
The
give up the Torah to Ben Hadad Melech Ram. So what is he? Is he a tzaddik? Is he a Rasha? No, we know he's a Rasha. He hasn't chelik olam haba. But we're going to deal a little bit with this duality, a little bit in depth. I found some sources, and we'll go into this.
Wow.
Okay, but we're going to stop here. God willing, we'll start Perek Chav Beis. Perek Chav Beis is a long perek. We will not. I don't think we will finish before Pesach. Maybe we will. We'll see. We're
Wow.
not going to finish before Pesach, so we can start Melachim Beis after. We'll see how that goes. Any comments, questions, or aros? Have a great.
No,
Oh,
I was just gonna
wonderful.
say
Thank
she
you.
was an amazing she was the influence. She was the negative influence,
Yeah, the
Like
Baal.
Like Jill Biden.
Like what?
Like Jill Biden.
Oh,
I thought you were going to say like.
wow. Oh wow.
I thought you were going to say like Bas Paro by Shlomo Amel.
Right, right. But not even, not like this. I don't think that she
No,
was
not-
evil.
not-
She was evil incarnate.
Correct. Well, that's why they say Jezebel.
Yeah.
Jezebel, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. By the way, she did have. I remember learning a lot. Just a little aside. When with Rabbi Reisman's shear, her body was eaten except for her arms and her legs. She did when it came to be Mesameach Chatan v'Kala. Believe it or not, she really put her whole self into it, and her hands and her legs were not eaten by the dogs because she had that zchut. So
we're gonna get there. I'm sure we'll learn the Chazal when we get there.
Wow.
Okay.
Have a good week.
Have a good week, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you so much.